I'm saying I play Howie, and you're listening to Heroes of Aeowe. While we're waiting here a little, I'm gonna use some detect magic and see what I can learn. So Howie has ability with her Eldritch invocations. She can cast detect magic at will. So I'll go ahead and press that. And it lasts up to 10 minutes. And she can sense the presence of magic within 30 feet of her, and she'll walk around and try to sense if there's anything important or special in the room magic related.
That there is a light up like a Christmas tree sort of situation with the Warforged. Nothing shows for the Warforged. Howie?
No magic at all on the Warforged.
No magic at all.
Howie is so confused. But she will continue to look around the rest of the room.
One of the things that does catch your eye is Koi lights up like a Christmas tree, though. And so does Ye Sang, and some writing on the wall at the back of the cavern. Seems to be a tally of days. But there's something else odd about it that you can't figure out.
Howie gets closer to it, the writing.
Okay. Give me an investigation check. Or an arcana check, actually, would be better.
Oh yeah, that sounds good to me. Howie rolls a 16 for Arcana.
What she sees, to her amazement, is that it says, "Beware the end of time's calculation. We have a suspicion." Guesses on suspicions, it says. Is it the apex? Or is it something else? And there's like tallies on two sides. There's two columns with tally marks in sets of 5, and there's about 365 on each. Except for one has 366. As if they're calculating how many guesses each day for the crew on what they were finding. So they found a total. One team found 366 clues to potentially what they were investigating was a Warforged, and the other one seemed to not. But what's strange about it, it looks like it's almost automatically kept and not chalk. It looks like it's magically written into the rock.
So there's a magic writing code on the wall that a magic user or someone with high arcana could decipher. And there's a tally, and the tally tells us something about the Warforged.
That is correct.
And what does it tell us about the Warforged?
You see in small characters, it says Warforged artifacts found to date by Team A and Team B. None have turned up results of being Apex or Gildren.
What is Apex and Gildren?
That would be something you might need to ask your friend, the Warforged. Or you can roll for history.
History first. Alright, Howie rolls a 15 in history.
Howie, this is going to be a high level one, so in this case it does not work. The only thing Howie remembers is that they were some sort of name of Orsed ranking.
So Apex have found no Warforged artifacts, and Gilgren was it?
Gildren.
Gildren.
Neither Team A or Team B, has not found either Apex or Gildren Warforged.
Okay. So Howie's saying this all loud, thinking to herself. She turns to the party and walks back. Well, did I miss anything important?
No, apparently Yi Sang has some kind of ability to heal people. I was not aware of this.
Well, something interesting. This Warforged here, I cannot detect any magic whatsoever from him, but I do on that wall over there.
He's a
Maybe
talking statue. How is he not magical?
I
And
guess
how would you rate your own self? I am a warrior, not a magician.
you are definitely not magic, which is interesting. Perhaps you were built somehow in a way a table would be built, but with different parts.
You call me a table, and yet you
No,
take offense when I ask if you're an aberration?
no, I'm not saying you're a table. I'm saying you were constructed by chance.
Of course I was constructed, and it was not by chance, it was by intent. I am Eusta. I am Gildren.
You see, I saw something that said Gildren on that wall over there. I guess they were looking for you? Why?
Because I am Gildren. He says this as if it explains everything.
Yeah, okay. We don't know what a Gildren is.
Yeah,
it used to.
yeah, it also said something about Apex. I wonder if it has something to do with the animal kingdom. Gildren sounds like a cauldron or something. Perhaps he can give us more insight into that.
All constructs of the Aura said are Eusta. The greatest among us are Gildren.
So, how many Gildren are there?
I do not know. I've been buried under rock for a very long time.
Who put you under rocks?
That is classified. I am not at liberty to say.
It's big words for he don't know.
I agree. Just kidding. What is your name, Warforged, or whatever you are?
I am Eusta Gildren, 7410N. However, you may call me Talon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to remember that many numbers.
And how is
Okay.
it this unit is unaware of the abilities of each of its members? How long have you trained together?
Not very long at all.
Let's see. That's our second fight.
Yeah, I'm just a standard magic user. I'm better with detecting things with magic than dealing damage.
And I am good at making words looks pretty.
Talon turns to Aaron and kind of crosses his arms across his chest. And if he was capable of facial features, you imagine he'd be raising an eyebrow right now, waiting to find out what your special talent is.
I don't know what you're looking at me for. I'm good at everything.
Not wrong.
Apparently, you are very skilled at catching blows with your face.
Yeah, well, I'm usually pretty good at throwing them too. I also made the vines stop all of them from charging at us. Did you miss that part?
I will concede that was impressive. The Yusta of my time, however, were much better constructed, and you would have found them to be a much greater challenge.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
As you guys are staring each other down, I'm imagining that 5'2" elf-looking green-haired dude is trying to stare down a much taller, very metallic-looking figure of a Warforged.
I'm not
Yeah.
staring him down. I'm barely paying him any attention.
Uh-huh. The Warforged is trying to do that.
No, Talon is just standing there with his arms crossed, facing outward from the direction that that the enemy ran away in.
Okay.
He's trying to be vigilant so they're not caught off guard again. He does follow up with, for a team that is untrained and ill-equipped and unprepared, you have requited yourself well.
I'm sorry, you want to rephrase that in something that vaguely resembles common?
Well, what he's saying is that we're not very proficient with combat, yet we did very well.
Yes, exactly. You did, what would the common term be? You did a good job.
Oh, well, thank you then. I think.
Yes, I think it was what we call a backhanded compliment, but I'll take what I can get. Thank you.
Perhaps I should apologize. I am not used to speaking with what the aura said would consider to be lesser races. I meant no offense.
Of course.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get over using the term lesser.
As you all are having your conversation, Koi walks up and says, "The math otherwise does not add up. You see, lesser just means that they're more impressive the farther you go along. The smaller the party, sometimes the more impressive they become," he said, smiling roguishly. And he sheathes his sword. "You are quite the impressive fighter, Warforged," he says. "But it still doesn't allow me to forgive what you did back then," he says. "I'm surprised you're up and running either way. Would you allow my scholars and investigators of the archaeological dig here to investigate why you're still operating?" he asks.
Talon turns back around from where he was kind of keeping watch and holds his tonfa out toward the prince, as if to give it to him, and he says, "As I have stated, I am your prisoner. Therefore, my will is not my own. And as for my previous actions, my mission was what it was." And he kind of looks around at the rest of the people assembled there. I am Yusta. I am not to question my mission, merely carry out my orders.
"Intriguing concept," Koi says. "These three seem to be well equipped to fighting alongside you, and you alongside them. I suggest we take it in a further approach. We might have found what we're looking for," he says, puts his hands on his hips and looks at all four of you. "You all might just be what this world needs. The heroes of Aeowe."
Well, I'm not sure if heroes is the best term to describe me, but I'll try my best.
No, Yi saying, I think I like what Koi's saying. I can get used to hearing that.
Yeah, well, a bunch of morons standing in the middle of a cave is not exactly have a good ring to it, you know.
Yeah, I think Heroes of Aeowe sounds much better than Morons in a Cave.
I am unfamiliar with this race, moron. Are they considered to be less? And he stops himself from saying lesser and looks at Aaron and says, "Are they considered to be inferior?"
Yes, it describes you.
No, listen. No matter how you feel about other people, we all have equal value.
Yes, but he is still a moron.
Yes, perhaps, but maybe not. We we don't know yet. Some may say you are, or I am. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
Please don't pick the ones with the eye stalks, Koi says, putting a hand to his forehead.
Yiseng stares at Howie when she said we're all equals, wanted to say something and then stops.
Talon turns to Prince Koi and returns his tonfa back to its sheath along his thigh and says, "If this is your wish, Prince, then I pledge myself to this group, to your task, to your mission, my sword and my life to your cause."
Pretty honorable of you, Koi says. He strokes his beard for a minute. Or his goatee, because he really doesn't have a long beard or anything like a sage. He's very well trimmed. And he looks you deep into where your eyes are located in your warforged head. And he says, maybe one day you'll earn my forgiveness. You four, get ready for tomorrow. For tomorrow we head out to the battlefield. With that, with a dramatic sweep of his cape, he steps into what looks like his personal tent in this cavern. He says, Valen, Raiden, please keep an eye out so no more Orsed disturb me. I have to plan. And with that, you are left to your own devices.
So we're staying in a cave?
It appears so.
All right. My kind of digs.
I would like to explore.
Go ahead.
Anyone joining me?
Can I join her while casting the spell Find Familiar?
Mhm.
It takes an hour. So if I can, then I'll join her.
All right.
Talon
we
will,
start?
Talon will accompany as well.
Well, if everybody else is going, then what's the point of me sticking around?
Come along.
The captain walks up to you four, and she says, would you like a tour? Sorry, would you like a tour of this location? She says. It is our famous dig.
I have been here once before, a very long time ago.
Have you now? She says, increasingly curious. I don't remember such a time.
There are few alive who would.
Yes, he was kind of buried here.
It was supposed to be your grave, the captain says, staring intently at Talon. What's now that you're safe-ish, she says. The prisoner might as well make use of your usefulness here. As deadly a weapon as you are, she says. And she escorts you around the cavern. There are various tents leaned up against the stone wall. It is now there are two exits now. One is the gates that you guys entered earlier, and the other one is the hole in the wall the Orsid blew through. When you peer outside, it seems they must have commandeered some sort of machine or very swift vehicle or animals down the side of the canyon. And what you see is just a large drop into blackness below you guys. That's how deep this canyon is at this point. You do see further down the cliff there is stairs. It seems to be sets of them that could be pulled up like siege engines to prevent people climbing out from the bottom of the cliff. And as well, you do see as well the smoke of a little fire way below. That's all you see. You don't see the fire itself. But what's interesting is you see lines and lines of metal construct looking things just lined out in the sun, baking in the heat. It's quite hot where you are standing. When you're not inside the cavern, if you poke your head out, it's pretty hot out there. It's probably approximately, for US listeners, It's about 90, 80 Fahrenheit, and for Canadian, European, or metric system users, it's about 32 Celsius outside, so it's pretty warm.
That is very hot.
It is. So you've gone through an illusion of cold to get to here, and the outside is like desert heat. The Red Canyon, as I mentioned, plunges downwards below you, and heat waves shimmer off the top of its surface of this drop. And Talon, when you notice the markings, they all seem to have been blown apart by some great source of power. And amongst the wreckage you do see fragments of what probably was your team, for there's only you know this, but there seems to be a mineral concept as well as metal, calcium in a basis amongst the remnants of whatever they've dug up so far from the base of the canyon.
So, do they have any of my former team completely excavated?
They do. One particular one is a dark red construct that looks almost like you. Except for, of course, being so specialized the way you were. This particular one has a clearly less armament than you do. Kind of a lighter archer-like or scout-like appearance. And it has the number of your former teammate printed on the side of it. The number is like burned into the metal, so it's easy enough to see.
We're seeing all of these things as well, I'm guessing.
Yes, you are. You are seeing all these warforged looking things. They're all metal. Just husks. Just lying out baking in the sun in parts. They're like a leg, an arm, that sort of thing. Nothing complete except for that red armored construct laying full on the ground.
Can you tell me about the history of what happened here?
Are you asking Talon?
Both of you. Talon, the captain.
Yeah, I was about to ask, is that a friend of yours?
We do not have this concept of friend as you do. This was a Leophor by the name of Raptor. He was a comrade in arms. He was a brother of many battles, as your people may say.
The captain looks down and says, "I think I took that one down. If I'm not mistaken," she says, looking at the construct. "It's a strange sensation when my blade went through it," she says. "You know our blades can cut through almost anything, right?" She looks at the Warforged. "Koi's more like can kill 3 in one blow," she says. "Beware that you do not cross him," she says. "But that one was quite the takedown on my part. I think I walked away from that fight with a broken arm and a broken collarbone," she said.
The collarbone was Raptor's trophy. The arm, I believe, was mine. And he reaches up and he tenderly touches this nick in the side of his armor, this oil rubbed bronze finish on his armor. He reaches up and touches this nick, which it looks like almost like scar tissue has started to form around it. And he turns to the captain and says, "But your killing blow on Raptor almost took me as well."
"Those were quite the fights, weren't they?" she says. And she motions, and she actually, she has like a white sort of like bloused shirt on, and she kind of pulls the shoulder down a little bit, and you see her upper part of her shoulder is all completely metal.
Out of character, how old is this Valen?
Approximately about 420. She is an elf, As I mentioned, her ears kind of twitch. And she's got the long pointed ears.
Okay, and this battle was 400 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if they're connected to the royal family, if you remember in the session 1, episode 1, or session 2, aka episode 2, we had it where I mentioned that elves and the family members of Arcanen live a very long time.
Okay, I'm a little out of my depth here. Are they flirting? Is that what it's called?
Shh, Aaron, don't embarrass them.
Okay.
The captain looks directly at you. I am sorry that we have had quite the fighting. At least you're on our side now. You will find we are a lot more human, and a lot more, I should say, elven and other of the races that you deem lesser. We are much more considerate of those that serve with us, she says. We don't leave them behind to die like your comrades did to each other. Maybe your team was different, but most of the Aeowe said that we knew in that war were not. She says, we took in people who were from your side, who eagerly came to our side because of the inhumane. In Elven, I don't know what you'd call it, she says. Long story short, in-family way that they were treated. And with that, she crosses her arms and she says, this is what became of what happens to those who do such horrible deeds. They are long gone rusts and hulking pieces. And you are a relic, just like I am. Now for these new people, she says, we should get them outfitted for battle, she says. Don't you agree? And you as well, she says.
Remind me, what was the cause for all this fighting in the first place? What were the goals of the Orsed and your side of things?
They ripped holes in our very atmosphere, says the captain, Valian. And she looks at the Warforged. They came through as the first, second, third, and fourth wave. Our king, High King Arcanen, wanted to defend against them. Leading these forces was somebody by the name of Melkinen, his brother, who sought to take the kingdom, which was rightfully his, according to him. He was the head of what were now known as the Blood Alchemists. In that battle, High King Arcanen was grievously wounded, lost a child. In one of the last battles, there were 3 of them, she says. Lost a child, and he lost, let's just say, part of himself that he had no idea that his brother was so strong. His brother lost his life, though, she says, as far as we understand. And that is why he wanted to take the kingdom that was, according to him, rightfully his, though he was the younger brother. Their father had no idea it was happening, and we later found out that Melkinen, from the old world of Aeowe, had killed Harkonnen's father, the previous High King, she says. That is why 2 worlds have collided and crashed together, one with superior technology such as this thing, she points at Talon, and our technology, she says, and she whips out her glass-like sword and balances it on the edge of the hilt on the edge of her palm and flips it and catches it in the air. Dernwyn, white fire blades, capable of cutting through literally almost anything. One day, you might get the training that is applied to wielding one of these, she says. She resheaths her own blade. It actually kind of dissolves into mist. Some have the skill to do that, she says. But you all are now fighting what's left of the war. The war of magic. For at the end of that battle, one that caused that explosion that put this one and myself out of commission at the end, was what totally ripped apart the very magic of this world, she says. Old magic? There's remains of it, but what I'm seeing within all of you, she looks at the calligrapher he's saying. She looks at Aaron, our very twig and leaf bee-feathered friend, I guess is the best way I describe you. And she looks at Howie, the woman made of water. You are part of what represents the new magic. A whispering, a dawn of light within this beshadowed world, she says. Does that answer your questions?
I'm sure I'll have more for you later. Howie smiles.
She smiles at you and she says, tragedies are of the past. Let us hope the future turns differently the wheels and cogs of existence, she says. And she points down to the canyon. Is there more of you down there? She asks to Talon.
There was only my small cohort, and I saw all of them fall, many by your hand, before I myself was buried. I do not believe that any others would be operational.
How come you're operational then?
He pauses. His body language suggests that he's about to say something, but he has no facial expressions. His body language, indicates that he's about to say something, and he pauses and he says, I do not know. Were I one of your people, and he motions to the greater room with all the mixed races, were I one of your people, perhaps I would say I was kept for a greater purpose. But such a thing does not exist among my kind. I can only surmise that my purpose now is whatever I choose it to be. I do not know what the future holds. I am without mission. I am without clan. I am forsaken by my own, and find myself now envowed to those that I once called enemy. I do not know the confluence of events that brought me here.
Yeah, well, join the club.
And with that, the captain turns to you, Yi Sang. You seem to have your own burdens to bear. May I employ your skills, though, as a calligrapher? She says.
If you need it, then I will deliver it.
This Uncle Metal right here, she points to Talon, could use a few upgrades. He's in such dire shape, and we've got to get the ore set out of him. There's probably some programming still in him somewhere. We're gonna have to deal with that later. But one thing you could do is help him with all this rust on his armor. I'm sure you can come up with some sort of suitable arcane steady focus for your writings on this, she says.
I can try slapping a few talisman on him.
That might work, she says. But seriously, you are in dire shape, she says to Talon. What did this to you?
Not to put too fine of a point on it, but you did. As far as the aura said within me, Skital no longer lives.
She says. And then when she realizes what that means, her eyebrows shoot up in quite the astonishment. You live, but she doesn't, she says.
Another one of those things I am unable to explain.
Maybe she'll be back in time, says the captain. But why are you alive and our princess isn't? She says. That's why Koi can't forgive you, and neither can I. And with that, she marches back into the cavern, and you guys are left standing in the heat of the noonday sun.
To her back as she walks away, Talon says, "It is a forgiveness I shall never ask for, nor ever deserve."
Humble words coming from a monster, she says.
Well, if you're alive, then it must be for a reason so great that no living being can understand it. Perhaps it is the will of him.
Him who?
Uh, we call him God, but I believe that the common terms, is false.
Okay, if you say so.
And what would this Fos have with someone like me?
Well, I know that he loves all things, and if you are here right now after 400 years, then your life may have yet have a purpose.
We don't know if this machine is alive or not. It might just be a tool used by others. Might not have any feelings or original thought. I don't know yet.
Well, as far as I know, his action can't simply be just programming.
Whatever it
Perhaps
is. Oh, go ahead.
perhaps it's some kind of higher calling.
Perhaps it is dumb luck.
Or an Autobot that happened to not be as damaged as originally thought.
Yeah, I believe that's what I said. Dumb luck.
Regardless,
Now, don't be so mean to our Warforged friend.
What? I'm being straightforward here.
Alan, whether or not you have feelings, I'm not sure. But I will be cautious, and I will have more questions about you and what you are later on.
For now, I was one of those things that went bump in the night. Now, I am the thing that bumps back.
And with that, do you head back to the cavern?
Yep.
Probably. I don't think there's anything else to do out here.
What time of
Would
day
you,
is it?
It was noon.
would you say that an hour has passed?
Probably about 2-3 hours.
Okay, then I should have gotten my familiar by now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he is a white owl, and then upon him landing on my arms, he's saying is going to say, "Oh, hi, Mr. Owl.
No, not a bird. No
I'm
more
gonna name you
birds. What?
Crow.
You're gonna name an owl Crow?
Yes,
Why?
I don't know.
You're gonna give him an identity crisis.
Well, he's still Mr. Owl. It's just his name is Crow. Oh, and
But
he's also a snow owl.
Mm.
and I'm the dumb one.
Hey, Yiseng just thinks differently. Howie remembers Yiseng talking to herself in the mirror and remembers she is not trying to get on the bad side of a lunatic.
I will then pull out my mirror, and the owl seems to be greeting someone in the mirror.
Howie believes she's making the owl do that and doesn't make any more comments.
Please tell me when the owl looks into the mirror, a crow by the name of Owl looks back.
Well, if you must know, someone else is on the other side of this mirror. The weird thing is only I can see him, And I guess now that Mr. Crow see him as well.
Aaron's doing the little circular thing with your finger when you're saying somebody's loony and motioning this to Talon, like Talon would even understand what that means.
How he stands in front of Aaron so that Yisang won't see what he's doing with his hand, because she is not trying to get on Yisang's bad side. Yisang has some mental problems going on. We are
And I
not.
make a perception check.
Yeah, sure. And Yisang rolled an 8.
I guess Yi-sang is too occupied with Crow to notice.
Is there a mess tent or an area set up for people to prepare food?
Yes, that's back in the cavern.
Okay, then when we make our way back to that area, Talon is going to go over there and just kind of absent-mindedly just kind of nudge the people out of the way, and he's going to start cooking.
To your surprise, the gentleman with the blonde hair and the well-pressed suit that you saw earlier seems to have trouble with the group. He smiles and he puts his pan to the side and he says, "Whoa, look at you, big fella. That is strange." He smiles. And he steps out of the way and says, "Have at it, big guy."
It was a passion of my symbiont, Skatal. And he reaches into his pack and this old crusty leather satchel, and the leather kind of breaks up and falls apart as he opens it up to reveal his own set of cook's utensils. And using whatever ingredients happen to be available there, he starts putting together a meal for his new team.
Aaron's just kind of looking at this cockeyed and is completely flabbergasted that a metal man is now cooking food.
Metal man who can't taste the food.
Look at him go. He's cooking food as such an irrational movement. Perhaps he does have a soul after all.
Or he's just being helpful.
Or he's trying to poison us because those things are probably rusty as all get out.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust the food he makes.
Speaking of Russ, if you have time, I can take a look at you.
As you wish. Would you like for me to make a roll for cooking?
Mhm.
Okay, I do have cook's utensils as a proficiency, so I can add my proficiency bonus to it. What would you like for me to roll?
Let's see here for cook's utensils. In this case, give me a minute. Wisdom.
18 plus 2, that'll be a dirty 20 for the meal that I prepare.
Okay. You realize, to your surprise, your cook's utensils, because you basically took them off of some guys down with the campfire down there, are not rusty. That was one of the things you thought wasn't just an oversized spoon. The shovel that you thought was an oversized spoon earlier. Turns out it actually was a cook's utensil, not a shovel. And you're able to
Wonderful.
cook up a very savory meal. In fact, the smell brings Koi out of his tent. And Koi slides over and he slides over to you guys and he says, "What in the great beyond is going on here?"
Apparently the Tin Man can cook.
Is that so? I've been doing some extended research. Yisang, would you step over here for a moment? He says.
She will do that.
He opens his he has a folder tucked under his arm and he opens it. And laying it there is a sketch of the Warforged at his prime. Do you want to describe what that looks like, Talon?
Absolutely. In his prime, he has this burnished, oil rubbed bronze finish. The filigree and the etchings on his armor is very, very intricate. It's highly detailed, and some of the places where you think it may be etchings is actually very finely fitted pieces of armor that just slide and glide together in this almost seamless movement. Stretched across the whole thing is this studded leather jerkin that's kind of pulled tight and made to be form-fitting. He does have eyes in the most robotic of senses. He doesn't have pupils or irises. His eyes don't have color. They don't light up. He has no mouth, and the merest suggestion of the shape of a nose on his face. While he stands 6'6", he's not very muscular. He's not very bulky. Looks like he was made more for speed than for strength.
You guys see this, and you're like, what in the world? How did he end up like he is? Because he looks like he's got parts of him blasted out of him. Not holes, per se, but like armor plating and chinks missing. Deep grooves. And it looks like a blade ran through his chest area. A burn mark of it in the shape of a Dernwin. Actually, two of them. There's two identical holes. And, as well, he's got probably a few other nicks, dents, burns, all of that. But what's most prominent that you guys notice about the sketch is that on the other page is a beautiful looking young woman with long tresses of blonde hair and a green and blue tunic, or like some sort of armor, and a scarf around her neck with a chicken on it. And in her hand she's got a helmet with a crest that looks like sort of like a hoplite warrior style of crest. And she's got long tapered ears like an elf, but behind her it looks like the armor fans out into what looks like that was her, Koi says. Warforged, he says. Do you recognize this?
Yes, my prince.
Who is it?
It is the Zayn. It is the seventh.
What was that seventh? He says calmly. We can see he's got dark circles under his eyes.
Talon's shoulders visibly slump. She was the seventh child of the king, a child believed to be one of prophecy. And I was constructed to kill her.
Who are you now? With that, he slams the file shut, looks at Yisang and says, that is why you need to keep an eye on him. He killed my sister. And with that, he marches off. And that is where I will leave it tonight.
Thank you for listening to Heroes of Aeowe. Our dungeon master is Annalai Defanith. Howie Golkis was played by myself, Sanguine, on Discord. Jung Yi Sang is played by Daniel. Aaron Cloudspark is played by Neron. Talon is played by Mike. Music is provided by Tim Galvin. Social media support is by Assassin King 007 on Discord.